sessions, but he's the president of the country that can tell us a lot of useful about how to survive and how to develop amid crises that happen everywhere. But in Sri Lanka, this is a very recent experience, and the country is getting out of that crisis with flying colors. This is especially important to Your Excellency, Mr. President. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Talking of Sri Lanka, in the global geopolitics, we are the grass. Elephants trample us, but we still keep growing. So I thought I would share my experience. When you asked me of navigating in the thickening fog, I was reminded of what Napoleon said. Even amidst the thick fog of war, you should be able to identify the terrain. If you know the terrain, then you can determine your strategy and your tactics. What is the terrain? We are amidst the unmaking of the global order. The scale of change is something is not limited to geopolitics or geoeconomics. It goes far beyond. It's driven by that. Technology, for instance, and in the case of technology, China, India, Russia, all the Eurasian countries are also now coming out on top compared to the West. Then the question of finances, of cryptocurrency, of climate change. So we are in the society, the social interactions. So what we are noticing on the one hand is the global power shifting away from the West, and it's bringing about a multipolar world. But what is this multipolar world? On one hand, we can see the emergence of Asia, Africa, Russia, what you call Eurasia with Latin America, Eurasia Plus, with an organization, the BRICS Plus, and how that is going to develop. But there are also alternative power structures to the state which has come up. For instance, the non-state actors, IMF is one, the military actors, the terrorist actors, the Houthis, for instance, then the conference of parties which determine the environment. So there are a lot of influential forces which are shaping the global order. They are not states, but nevertheless we have to take them in. And it was Henry Kissinger who said it's the time for a new concept of a global order. But unfortunately, President Biden and Anthony Blinken thought otherwise, that you could retain it. So they want to retain the status quo, and they got on to the create up that firstly President Putin and Russia was a clear and present danger. But the long-term threat came from China. Why? Because of its ability to reshape the world. Then not only China, but any organization that was reshaping the world to the disadvantage of the US then had to be targeted on. And what they have done, therefore, is to create a division in the world. They have now ceased to be in power, but we have to live with the consequences. And in the process, it has made Indian Ocean the most strategic region in the world. Firstly, you have Ukraine. The sanctions applied on Ukraine were such that we in the Indian Ocean did not abide by that. As a result, you see in the Russian economy coming to the Indian Ocean, all the refining of all the crude, the fact that Indian rupee is interchangeable with your currency, all that has made the Indian Ocean the key area, and you see a bigger Russian presence in the Indian Ocean. Second is Israel and the support they gave to Israel on Gaza. Now Israel's conflict with Iran has brought Israel into the Indian Ocean for the first time. And last of all is the Indo-Pacific, which is a concept made by the Biden administration, or they built on a concept which was done by Prime Minister Abe, but it was a rather vague one, which was to become mainly a quasi-military organization They talked of the Quad, and they talked of the AUKUS. Now it raises a problem. Australia is in the Indian Ocean. There's no issue. US is there to protect security. But what is the role of UK? I mean, that's something that comes up there. So we go by the Bandung communique and the flow of it to the non-aligned movement onwards, and what's called the Dasasil, or the 10 precepts that was sent out by the Bandung communique. On this is because we feel that Indo-Pacific originally had no boundary as to where it ended in the Indian Ocean. All of a sudden it became another definition, and we felt that Indo-Pacific, instead of coordinating, was one which was designed to meet with the question of the Taiwan crisis, to which the Indian Ocean had no wish to get involved in, because we had to accept Taiwan as a part of China. So in the first instance, India said they are not treating the Quad as a military alliance. Secondly, we had the Jakarta Concord of 2017, which asked for the Indian Ocean as a zone of peace and the freedom of navigation in the Indian Ocean. Then we've taken on the ASEAN outlook on the Indo-Pacific, where we do not treat this as a contiguous territorial space. And we have the IORA outlook, which is to use the Indian Ocean for peaceful purposes, and a commitment to the freedom of navigation, overflights, and undersea cables. Then a recognition by many of us as India as the net security provider, and we treat China as a key trading partner, and Japan both having an interest in the Indian Ocean for trade, and the US role, which was in 77 at that time. I happened to be the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs. We recognize as ensuring security of the sea routes, not for interrupting it. So wherever the Indo-Pacific was one of interrupting, we did not give support. But when US took part in ensuring the freedom of navigation, like Operation Prosperity Guardian, Sri Lanka was the only navy, Asian navy, to send a ship in. So we've drawn a distinction between the dual roles of the US. But now we have the BRICS. BRICS are firmly in place, and the development of it, the world order, has to take recognition of the functioning of the BRICS, and of course the new order that has come into place. BRICS have also brought in the NDB and the contingent reserve arrangement, but more than that, China has come in with the BRI and the AIIB. So it's there. Then India is now coming out with SAGA. So we're getting a new economic framework, while US has gone away from development assistance, and UK has decided that they will send the money, as far as they are concerned, on defense. So we have now a new situation which we have to live with. Firstly is that we have to recognize the shift of power, and it's a multipolar world. So we should ask for G7 to be scrapped and G20 to take its place. You do not need G7 and G20. G20 has all the key players into it. So round G7 and not round G20, that's one driver. Secondly is the recognition of the role that's been played by BRICS Plus. So you have to bring BRICS into it. It's useless talking of G7 when most of the countries don't even count very much as far as we are concerned. The other issue is that in President Trump and Secretary Rubio, at least they recognize the fact the global order is undergoing transformation. They have to respond accordingly. We may or may not agree with MAGA, but at least it's in the context of a world order that's undergoing transformation. In this, the main issue is becoming de-dollarization. It will be difficult for BRICS economies, at least for the next decade, to come anywhere close to what the dollar is. But we should go in for some compromise. that all economic arrangements requires consultation with the BRICS and all our countries. That you cannot bring any economic, you can't change the terms of trade tariffs without consultation with our part of the world. All of us can't be there. So let BRICS be the representative. Therefore, even the issue of cryptocurrencies, use of technology should be governed by that. And we have to uphold the Indian Ocean as a zone of peace. So this is one of the issues. The other issue that has come up and which is of concern to us is the Israel presence in Iran. The G7 communique of yesterday justifying it as self-defense is not acceptable because the attack took place while talks were going on. If it took place, to give the most favorable interpretation to Israel, then it had to be after the talks were over and if it broke down. But talks went on. The 60-day period was over, but the United States decided to give it extension by going for another round. So this concept of self-defense is harmful. Secondly, what we are afraid is the Israel attack has not, as they intended, destroyed everything in the first attack. So you can witness maybe a more drawn-out conflict which has to be brought to an end. So this is the terrain we have as of today, and it's within this we have to decide how we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, how to turn the Indian Ocean into the zone of peace? On the one hand, this is very important, but on the other hand, looking at what is going on, certainly, that's a mammoth task. This is a giant task, and it would require a very creative approach. But as for Your Excellency said in the very end, regarding the right to self-defense, which is enshrined in the G7 communique, it really opens much space for discussion